Chapter 1. 1454 Greenwood Demon. When Leylan saw this, she frowned and turned to Bai Bi, saying, "These will be troublesome. I'll lend older sister Chin a hand." With that said, golden light flashed from her body, and she flew out of the carriage. But Bai Bi raised his hand to stop Leylan and forced a smile, saying, "Junior Marshal Sister Lei, you don't need to help Lady Chin. We have other things to deal with." Leylan was startled and looked off in the direction Bai Bi was pointing. At another edge of the darkness, a large swarm of demon wolves was silently approaching. From a glance, one could only see their fur. Their true number was unknown. Meanwhile, cries sounded from a different direction. Leylan looked over and saw black silhouettes moving. They were a large group of 3-meter-tall ice apes. Their fur was extremely long and somewhat curled, but they held wood or stone clubs in hand. They also had menacing fangs hanging from their mouths. "I'll deal with the wolves. I'll leave the ice apes over to Senior Marshal Brother Bai." Leylan gave a quick response before hurrying off in a silver bolt of lightning. Thunder clapped above wolves as a dozen bolts of lightning struck down. The silver lightning swept past the wolves, leaving them scorched and trembling on the ground. Bai Bi shook his head and gave Han Li a salute before flying off in a streak of light. A short moment later, the apes became restless, and a ball of golden light erupted from the sky. Countless golden threads spread downward. Miserable screams echoed. Golden light flashed across the apes, piercing holes through them and spilling blood across the ground. The wolves and apes were only low-grade demons and didn't prove a match to the two. But in a swarm, there were bound to be a few capable mid-grade demons. They could only slowly deal with them. Han Li watched this from the spirit carriage, and his expression stirred. He pondered whether the three should return, and he would deal with these demons using the might of the Grand Formation. But at that moment, a peculiar sound rang through the air, signaling that something has arrived. Blue light flashed from his eyes, and he attentively looked in the distance, and his expression sank. He saw over 100 ice fiends of varying form flying through the air. Their bodies were a sparkling black and ranged from 30 meters to only a foot in size. From their aura, they appeared to be mid-grade demons. These demons appeared excited and were rushing over to the Grand Formation, clearly attracted by the leopard Kirin beast's scent. Han Li coldly chuckled and stood motionlessly in place. The demons quickly arrived before the Grand Formation, and they strangely buzzed as they rushed into the formation towards the small beast at its center. Han Li only took action when he saw nearly half of the flying ice demons enter the formation. He flipped his hand to produce a 3-inch large sparkling scarlet formation flag. He immersed the flag with the entirety of his magic power and quickly pointed downward. A crackle sound as a beam of red light disappeared into the spell formation. A huge rumbling sounded as the 10 pillars at the edge of the spell formation trembled. Once the talisman characters appeared, mists of red light began to gather around the formation and completely envelop the ice fiends. In their fright, the demons either spat out icy white winds or spread out their wings to summon black snow and hail. But regardless of their abilities, when red light swept past them, they turned to ash, melting away as if they were thawing ice. In the blink of an eye, the demons inside the spell formation vanished, leaving only clouds of ice fiend chi lingering in the air. The remaining demons outside the spell formation were alarmed. There were a few that didn't want to leave because of the scent and lingered outside the formation. But those that were smarter quickly took off. Han Li raised his brow and opened his mouth, spitting out a ball of azure light that contained a small azure cauldron. The cauldron spun in the air and pulsed with light expanding to 3 meters in size. A bang sounded as Han Li slapped his palm on top of the cauldron. The cauldron droned, instantly shooting its lid into the air. A swarm of azure threads shot out from it and strangely vanished into space itself. A short moment later, space warped near the ice fiend demon lingering outside the formation, and countless azure threads shot out in every direction. The ice demons were skewered. Even those that fled earlier weren't able to escape the threads. Once the threads faded away, the corpses fell to the ground in fragments. With Han Li's increase in cultivation, the might of the Heaven Void Cauldron was also vastly different. The others also used their various abilities to slay the mid-grade demons and eventually repelled the swarm of demons. Leylan and Qin Xiao returned to the carriage and clicked their tongues in wonder. "I didn't expect there were so many demons in the Ice Fiend territory. Who knows what else is hiding?" In a flash of golden light, Bai Bi returned to the carriage. He chuckled and slowly said, "An area this large is bound to conceal much. However, these were only the nearby demons. Soon, demons from farther away will come. There may be a few high-grade demons among them." When Han Li heard this, he remained calm. Not long after, howls sounded from all around them. Various demons had appeared again and were rushing the formation. This time, Han Li didn't have the other three head out. Instead, he activated the restrictions of the Grand Formation. Any of the demons that entered the formation were given a painful death, turning to ash as red mist swept past them. Time slowly passed as they were besieged by waves of demons, and half a day passed. During this time, only one high-grade demon appeared. However, Han Li decisively activated the Grand Oriate Sword Formation and made short work of it. After this, no other powerful demons had appeared for some time. Han Li and the others were happy to spend time peacefully. 6 hours later, when the leopard Kirin beast's scent had begun to wane and a murder of strange crows was charging into the spell formation, the crows suddenly fled without warning. Just as Han Li observed this, he heard heavy footsteps thud from a distance away. Each step caused the ground to shake, and it was slowly growing closer. Lei Lan and the others glanced at each other with astonishment. As for Han Li, he narrowed his eyes as blue light flickered from them. A short moment later, a kilometer-tall dark green colossus walked out from the darkness. As soon as it could be seen, Bai Bi gravely shouted, "A greenwood demon." "It's a greenwood demon." The demon before them was quite peculiar. Its huge figure was half man, half deer. Its surface appeared emerald green as if it were chopped out of a tree. And the green leaves and flowers growing on top of it also appeared quite comical. However, the demon was holding a pair of huge hammers the size of hills, stifling any laughter about its appearance. Bai Bi quickly glanced at Han Li and said, "No matter. Although it may be large and powerful, the green wood demon, but its body is cumbersome. So long as we don't let it strike with its weapons, it is no threat." However, the three only saw Han Li's sullen expression. This was the first time he showed such an expression since the beginning of the demon assault. "Brother Han, you—" When the others saw this, they were bewildered. After some silence, Han Li said if it were only this demon, it would be easily dealt with. But the demon standing on its head might be a problem. "There's another one," frightened the others quickly looked on top of the giant's head. Under closer examination, they eventually made out another demon. It was only 2 feet tall, appearing to be a long-haired dwarf with green robes. He held a cane in one hand and stood motionlessly on top of the giant. Most of his body was concealed by vegetation, so it was no wonder he wasn't easily discovered. When the demon saw Han Li and the others had discovered him, the dwarf hadn't opened his eyes and arrogantly said, "I know you are from the Flying Spirit tribe and have some abilities. However, you are no match for me at your level of cultivation. So long as you obediently hand over the evolving spirit beast to me, I will immediately leave. Otherwise, you will die here." Lei Lan and the others looked at each other in dismay at his arrogant tone and uncertain abilities. Han Li's eyes flickered, but when he saw the opponent's cultivation, he couldn't help but sigh. It was no wonder he spoke so arrogantly. To control a high-grade demon like the Green Wood Demon, he had the fearsome cultivation of a mid-spatial tempering stage. Ordinary Flying Spirit tribe holy disciples wouldn't prove a match against him. But to Han Li, so long as he didn't have any heaven-defying abilities, he wouldn't be a strong match against Han Li. Too lazy to respond, Han Li held his arms behind his back and looked at him with a mysterious smile. Bai Bi and the others felt apprehensive, but they tactfully kept quiet as Han Li was their leader. When the dwarf saw this, he was enraged and opened his white eyes. He coldly said, "Since you choose death, allow me to take you there." The dwarf tapped his cane on the giant below him. The demon let out a bellowing roar and stepped toward the grand formation in large steps. Chapter 1. 1455 Blood Puppet. Han Li coldly watched as the huge demon took a few steps forward, betraying no emotion from his face. Only a bit closer, and the Greenwood demon would enter the range of his Oriate sword formation. He would release it without reserve and slay both demons in a single attack. At that moment, red light flashed from the distant sky, followed by a howling cry. 3 balls of bloodlight appeared from the dark and streaked in their direction. When the dwarf saw this, his expression vastly changed. He tapped his cane on the wood demon and turned his head to face the crimson streaks. A trace of astonishment appeared on his face. After several thuds sound, the greenwood demon stopped right outside the aureate sword formation. Han Li frowned, but when he saw this new development, he also turned to look at the distance. The other three appeared apprehensive at the new demons that appeared. The three crimson streaks were incredibly fast, traveling near them at lightning speed. The light faded away to reveal 3-foot-tall silhouettes. These small people had delicate faces, and one couldn't make out their age, but they wore peculiar red armor. Dense talisman characters appeared on the surface of their faces. Their skin gleamed scarlet, and they smelled of rotting blood. The three emotionlessly swept their gaze around them before setting their glowing eyes on Han Li. Han Li narrowed his eyes and felt an icy chill spread across his body. It was as if 3 vipers were staring at him. When the demon saw the silhouettes, his complexion paled and his eyes were filled with awe. Blood puppets. They're the puppet incarnations of Lord Di Shui. Blood puppets. Di Shui. Han Li's mind quickly stirred, but he found the name unfamiliar. The 3 small figures stared at Han Li for a long while before a harsh expression appeared on their faces. They opened their mouths and released 3 blood-red beams at Han Li. Although Han Li was already prepared, furious alarms still ranged through his mind as the attack came with no warning. He instantly reacted, raising his hand and summoning a grey mist in front of him. At that same time, black chi burst from his body to create a simple black armor. 3 muffled pops sounded. The 3 beams of blood light was only stalled by the divine essence-fused light for a moment before piercing through and striking Han Li's baleful armor. The blood light swayed as it struck, gradually dimming to reveal 3 bowl-sized holes through the armor and directly striking his chest. Lei Lan and the others turned bloodlessly pale when they saw this, but what happened next left them even more dumbstruck. Thunder rang from Han Li's chest and boomed, revealing bloodlight clashing against gold-and-silver lightning and cancelling each other out. The attack was blocked in the end by Han Li's lightning robes. Even so, Han Li was still greatly frightened, and his face suddenly sank. He coldly snorted and released clouds of black chi, instantly mending the 3 large holes in his baleful armor. If his baleful armor hadn't scattered the power of the 3 beams of bloodlight, he feared his lightning robes wouldn't have been able to block it. Seeing that their attacks didn't succeed, the 3 blood puppets hadn't betrayed any emotion. Light simply flickered from their back as pairs of blood-red wings unfolded, and they immediately vanished. Han Li felt his heart tremble. Before he could react, the nearby space fluctuated, and the 3 silhouettes flickered into existence. Their hands blurred, slicing at the air with a long crimson saber in each hand. 3 bright red crescents streaked out from the swords towards Han Li, completely ignoring any of the others. As the puppets had a thread of their master's spiritual sense within them, it determined that the only threat present was Han Li, and that the others would collapse at the first blow. Han Li let out a furious shout, and the wings on his back shook. With a clap of thunder, he disappeared. A short moment later, he reappeared 60 meters away in a flash of azure-white lightning. At nearly the same time, 3 crimson lights flashed in his direction. The 3 small figures reappeared and performed seemingly the same attack, but this time, their sabers transformed into a barrage of countless blood streaks surrounding him. With a face as cold as ice, golden light flashed from Han Li's body to reveal a layer of sparkling golden scales on his flesh. At that same time, he let out a huge shout, striking out with his black and white palms. In the blink of an eye, they turned into intertwining black-white palm projections. Metallic clangs and screeches sounded as a result. The barrage of crimson streaks struck Han Li's palm, but they wailed and scattered as if repelled by an immense force. The 3 puppets felt pushback from the huge force through their blades and were each pushed back 10 meters. Crimson light wildly flickered from their bodies before they regained their balance. But when they raised their heads, they were stunned. Han Li had vanished from his original location. In an instant, Han Li had blinked back to his original location on the spirit carriage. The 3 figures eventually lowered their heads and found them, but Han Li simply sneered. With his hands quickly forming an incantation gesture, he began to chant. The nearby space let out a loud, clear cry as golden threads began to flicker and shine, surrounding the 3 blood puppets tightly. This was the grand aureate sword formation Han Li originally placed down. The might of the sword formation vastly increased along with his cultivation. The originally slow sword threads were now surging with greater speed. However, They still definitely couldn't be considered very fast. When the three blood puppets saw this, their eyes roiled and their wings stirred as they strangely vanished from the air. It appeared they wanted to employ a secret technique and escape the sword formation. However, something as mysterious as the aureate sword formation wasn't about to let them escape. Three drones sounded from the edge of the formation where 100 golden threads lashed out. Crimson light immediately appeared, and the three silhouettes were forced to appear. The three puppets were instantly shredded into countless pieces as if they were destroyed. Even the dwarf was left dumbstruck by the scene. The dwarf quickly realized something and immediately had the wood demon below him to slowly retreat. As an indigenous creature of the earth abyss, the dwarf understood how fearsome the blood puppets were. He couldn't prove a match against the combined forces of the three blood puppets, so he abandoned any thoughts of laying hands on the leopard Kirin beast. But at that moment a strange scene appeared from the sword formation. It appeared the shredded fragments of the crimson puppet were glowing and turning into blood drops. They then gathered together to form three fist-sized balls of blood, filling the air with their rotten scent. As soon as they appeared, they spun and gradually turned back into their blood puppet form. Hanli wasn't surprised by this and simply pointed at the center of his sword formation with an odd expression. A rustle sounded and a silver firebird flew out from the ground. As it approached the puppets with a flicker, it exploded, separating into three bowl-sized balls of silver flame. With a muffled boom, the silver flames struck the blood balls' heads one. The silver flames surged high and completely enveloped the blood balls. As the flames burned, a scorched scent filled the air, followed by miserable screams. The balls of silver flames wildly knocked against the edges of the sword formation like a headless fly. Although Han Li was watching this expressionlessly, he was inwardly shocked. He had a great understanding of the might of his spirit engulfing flames. When an ember of it caught on his opponent, they should turn to ash in an instant. However, these blood puppets were able to endure. However, the flame's overbearing power became clear to see as the blood balls were soon thoroughly burned away. With their blood turning to ash, the puppets could no longer reform. Hanli waved his hand. The balls of silver flames fused back into one, returned to him as a firebird, and vanished into his sleeve. His expression stirred as if he sensed something and looked to the side. He saw that the huge green wood demon had unknowingly retreated a kilometer away. When the dwarf saw that Han Li was looking at him, he felt his heart pound and whistled without another thought. The silent wood demon suddenly glowed with green light and began to run away with large steps, without any regard to stealth. As a colossus, the demon blurred several times before disappearing into the darkness. "You want to leave?" Han Li muttered. He then opened his mouth and summoned a small cauldron glowing with azure light. At that moment, a weak beast howl sounded from underneath the spirit carriage. When Han Li heard this, he was overjoyed, but he looked to the distant wood demon with some hesitation, before taking back the heaven-void cauldron back into his stomach. Afterwards, his figure blurred and he appeared on top of the spirit carriage. A short moment later, he nimbly stepped onto the ground and stood next to his spirit beast, which was still wrapped in white light. At that moment, the fragrance being emitted had grown much dimmer. Through his spiritual sense connection with the beast, he already sensed that its advancement was on the verge of completion. He now had another source of strength. He took a deep breath and stretched his hand forward into the white light, putting the leopard Kirin beast within it. At that same moment, a wave of pure spiritual energy entered the small beast's body. Azure light brightly shined from Han Li's body, and his expression turned grave. The other three in the spirit carriage all let out a long sigh, seeing that matters had concluded. They looked at each other with a face of deep relief. Chapter 1, 1456. Mu Qing and the Bloodworm. What shocked Lei Lan and the others the most was how Han Li faced two powerful enemies, slaying one with ease and sending the other running away in fright. The three hadn't known that the blood puppets were actually as strong as low-grade Great Spirit generals, or they would have been even more shocked. As for the other demons, they no longer came. Han Li was simply spending this time assisting his spirit beast in the last step of its advancement, while Lei Lan and company recovered their strength in the spirit carriage. 2 hours later, white light wildly flashed from the ground, and a roar crossing between a dragon and a tiger sounded out. As for Han Li, who stretched his hand through the light, his expression changed and his figure blurred as he shot away in a chain of after-images. Immediately after, a golden figure flew out from the white light. It spun in the air and revealed a 30-meter-long phantom. Its body sparkled gold from the scales covering its body. It was a golden Kirin beast. Although the Kirin beast was only a phantom when it raised its head, it let out a majestic roar, releasing an astonishing pressure into the air. Even Han Li, who originally stood firm, couldn't help but take a step back with a changed expression. However, the phantom was short-lived as it slowly faded away, and the small beast emerged from the white light underneath. As of current, the leopard Kirin beast didn't look much different than it did before, but there were now golden stripes on its fur and its eyes shimmered with sparkling silver. In a blur, the leopard Kirin beast vanished from its original location. At that same moment, Han Li felt a slight weight on his chest and something quite soft. He lowered his head to find that the newly advanced demon had leapt on top of him. It beamed at him with its enchanting eyes and licked the back of his hand with its pink tongue. Han Li wordlessly swept his spiritual sense past the small beast, and joy soon lit up on his face. As expected, the small beast succeeded in its advancement and now possessed deity transformation cultivation. As for the beast's innate abilities and its Kirin bloodline, it proved far stronger than other beasts of the same cultivation and would prove to be a rare helper. The small beast yawned inside Han Li's embrace, appearing quite tired. Its recent advancement had been quite difficult for it, and it needed to quickly rest. With a flip of his hand, Han Li produced a red medicine pill in his hand and put it in its mouth before lightly patting it. Then, in an azure flash, the beast vanished back into his storage bracelet where it soundly slept. The three in the spirit carriage unconsciously glanced at each other when they saw the Kirin phantom and wore awed expressions. Although the flying spirit tribe believed in the true spirit of birds, Kirins and other existences were held in reverence by the other tribes as they were true spirit-level existences. They were truly shocked that Han Li's spirit beast had the bloodline of a Kirin true spirit. At that moment, Han Li's expression stirred, and he soared into the air as an azure streak. Rainbow streaks flew out from the ground as the formation flags and plates in the surrounding area flew up. With all the formation tools in his sleeve, the 10 crimson pillars emerging from the ground vanished and completely disappeared. In an azure flash, Han Li appeared inside the spirit carriage and calmly said, "We don't have much time. Let's head to the 3rd level as quickly as we can." Bai Bi and company raised no objections, all nodding in agreement. As for the triangular spirit carriage, Han Li tapped his foot on its floor, commanding it to streak forward. With several white flashes, the carriage blurred and vanished into the darkness. In the deepest level of the earth abyss, when the 3 blood puppets were devoured by the spirit engulfing flames, a crimson-robed person sitting in a hidden room in the mountain suddenly sensed something. He opened his eyes and let out a yelp. With a harsh expression, a trace of malice appeared from his eyes. "My blood puppets are exterminated, along with my threads of spiritual sense. How can this be? Could it be that others have involved themselves with my bounty?" The man stroked his chin and muttered, "No matter, I fear it'll be too late to send more puppets. I won't let a meager spirit general-grade existence have me go to the upper levels." A short while later, he shook his sleeve and released a ball. It spun in the air as it floated in front of him. He formed an incantation gesture and pointed at the ball with his free hand. It quickly surged with crimson light and began to softly hum. Eventually, a cold woman's voice spoke. "Di Jue, why did you contact me?" The voice spoke without a trace of politeness. "Haha, I wish to perform a trade with fellow Taoist Mu Qing." The crimson-robed man chuckled. "What is it?" the woman said with surprise. "It's nothing," the man casually said. "I want to borrow your subordinates. The High Great Spirit General Grade Blood Worm." The woman astonishedly asked the blood worm, "What are you doing with them?" "I need them to find me blood feed for the sacrifice." The man said, "I need them to exterminate a few Spirit General Grade Flying Spirit Tribe beings. They're at the 2nd level, so it's too late for me to personally deal with them. There is no teleportation formation that can send me there, so I can only rely on you." After some silence, the woman snorted and indifferently said, "Why do you need the bloodworm for a few spirit generals? I don't care what you're planning to do with my bloodworm, but it'll be fine if you give me that spirit-concealing wood. Otherwise, consider the matter null." The man calmly said, "That's fine, but I do have one request. I want the soul of the flying spirit tribe beings. After you kill them, have the bloodworm deliver them to me. That is a small matter. Send their appearances and locations over to me," the woman said with a softer tone. Of course, it'll just be a moment. The man extended his finger to the pearl and gently closed his eyes, sending the information with his spiritual sense. A short moment later, the man withdrew his fingers and opened his eyes. I have you their most recent location. You should be able to easily find them with your bloodworm. I will be awaiting good news. As they are only spirit general existences, it won't take up much time. But if your information isn't accurate, the woman then coldly laughed with a deep tone. If it isn't accurate, Fairy Mew can cancel the trade, the man said with a smile. With his abilities, he naturally wouldn't mistake the cultivation of spirit general grade beings. Since you are certain, then so be it. I will directly send the bloodworm to the second floor. You should receive news in 3 days, the woman calmly said. Then with a red flash from the ball, the connection was severed. When the man saw this, he appeared satisfied rather than anger. He withdrew the ball and muttered, with the high great spirit general grade bloodworm, they shouldn't fake. If they truly fail, then it shows that those old fellows from the flying spirit tribe have truly infiltrated the earth abyss. It is better to deal with this carefully. The man sat in his chair and quickly drifted off to sleep. On the 3rd level of the earth abyss, in a large hall constructed from black wood, there was a vague silhouette that sat on top of a 3-meter large golden flower. They motionlessly held their chin in hand. Sitting not far away from them were 2 rows of black figures of varying heights. There were 16 of them. A short moment later, the black figure sitting on the flower raised their hand, releasing a green streak, quickly disappearing into the air. A short moment later, a rumbling thunder sounded from the outside. Crimson light flashed from the hall gates and a hazy blood mist shot inside. The blood mist vanished to reveal a demon with a worm's head and a human's body. It respectfully bowed to the figure sitting on the golden flower and hoarsely spoke. May I ask what Master has called Jue Du for? The black silhouette spoke with a cold woman's voice. Shui Du, you'll temporarily give up on collecting blood feed and will go to the 2nd floor. She had the same voice as Mu Qing, the woman who spoke with eccentric Di Shui. As the master commands. The worm-headed demon had an incredibly red head, and its eyes contained indescribable savagery. But it spoke to the black figure with the utmost respect. The woman waved her hand and tossed a black bamboo tube at him. There are several spirit general grade flying spirit tribe beings on the 2nd floor. Teleport over, kill them, and deliver their souls to eccentric Shui. Those are their last known locations and their appearances. Take note that the flying spirit tribe beings might be odd. If there is something amiss, quickly report it back to me. Move quickly. As you bid, the worm-headed demon accepted the tube and blurred, shooting out in a blood mist. It flickered several times before disappearing. The woman glanced at the hall gates for a moment and withdrew her gaze. With a cold tone, she said, "All right, tell me about the progress with the blood feed captured on the various levels. The next blood sacrifice will occur soon. Heijo, it's your turn." A tall silhouette stood up and said, "The 4th level's 4-winged serpents and the bright cloud scorpion are the largest blood feeds and have been completely captured. Only the 3-eyed grey mouse and several other beasts are hiding in Black Crow Mountain. We temporarily can't reach them.